Money!
What your bank doesn't tell you. A podcast by UMushroom.
Dear community, welcome to our third podcast. Topic today, you cannot be not invested.
Hello, also from my side, enjoying a lot to do this session today. And as Luba said, the topic is investing, or basically you can't be not invested. And usually the banks, what they tell you is how you should invest, and they might propose you even some solutions. But the bank is clearly not telling you that you are invested anyway. Even if you are holding just cash on the account, you are invested.
Absolutely, and that's a very important point you're mentioning. If you hold cash in Swiss francs or in euro, you actually are invested in something which we call currency. And on top comes, it depends very much where you hold your cash. For example, if you're holding with certain bank, you bear a risk that this bank may one day default. And depending on the amount you're holding, this amount may not come back to you at full if the bank is really in economical trouble. Well, it might be realistic, right? But we all have gone through 2008 and we've seen what happened with Lehman. So bear in mind, whenever you have cash in a bank, you are having invested in a currency and you bear something which we call credit risk.
This is said by somebody who worked at Lehman Brothers at some point, no?
Yes, I'm speaking out of experience.
But coming back to the first topic, I mean, you said you are invested even if you're holding Swiss franc or euros or whatever currency. And this is a very important point, because if you hold the currency, then you're also relying on the economy of the country where the currency is used. And with this also you're exposed to inflation. And inflation means the increase of prices of the goods you're consuming day in, day out. So if prices of goods or services are increasing, then we have inflation. And inflation basically reduces the value of your money because you can't buy the same amount of goods and services as before. So this also means that you are losing money when we have inflation. And at the moment, I'm sure you have heard in the news that inflation is high again after quite a few years or a very long time. So in Switzerland, we can't complain that much with an inflation rate of roughly 3% at the moment. But it's different in European countries, even the US, and maybe worse in emerging market countries.
Absolutely. And we've covered, Tony, did we mention we've invested in new gear? We actually did.
No, yes, we didn't say, but we did invest in new gear, and that's important too.
That's true. So we covered the risks of basically holding cash, i.e., you cannot be not invested. We covered the returns. But there is another element when it comes to money, and that is you also invest your energy and you also invest what we call your voice, right, and your impact. And this aspect is actually, at least in our view, as important as when it comes to what kind of risk are you bearing and how much can you earn on it. So we very often hear, oh, banks do this and this, and money is invested in bad companies, or bad financing products are done. But guess what? It's us who are actually giving those resources free away, and it's us who are not exercising our decisive power. When people say I'm not invested, they actually normally mean I'm invested in cash. I hold what I have saved in a cash account somewhere. Or maybe I don't have enough to hold on a cash account. That as well exists, right? But actually, it's not that you're not invested. We discussed that you're invested in cash, and it's a currency. It has certain risks and returns. But there is also, with putting your money in cash or putting in money in companies, there is also something else what you're investing. And that's your voice. That's your opportunity to say, what kind of projects do you want to support?
Mm-hmm. And I 100% agree with that. And this also results in your very personal values. And it depends to what you give a certain worth. So if you feel it worthy to raise your voice for a specific topic, this is, yes, it's money invested eventually, but it's also invested in something bigger, something you want to support, something you want to see grow, and eventually turn into the world where you want to live in.
Absolutely. And it's a very important element which we keep stressing every time we have the opportunity to address it. Investing is not only return, it's not only risk, it's also your money voice. It's what you stand for. And we tend to forget that. And we were having another day a conversation with friends who were very angry about the fact the banks not necessarily really use the money in the best way, that they invest, I don't know, some strange projects or some very dodgy type of transactions. But guess what? It's us who actually don't react upon that. It's us who basically don't proactively say where our money should go into. So,
and usually the argument is, well, I only invest a tiny part and I can't have an impact. But that's not true. So if everybody believes that there is no impact, then yes, there might not be an impact in the end. But if everybody really acts according to their values, then yes, eventually the companies will feel it and will be forced to adjust.
Exactly. And that's a very important aspect which money also has. And you probably have heard the sentence, money is power. Guess what? It's really true. Money is power. Money is actually your power. And we keep forgetting that element. We keep forgetting the fact that we actually hold the power in our hands, no matter how big or small as you're mentioning. That's another, what we call misbelief about money and about the impact of each and every one of us on the world.
And here we are getting again into the spiritual aspect of our work and of money. And you said that money is power. And yes, of course, money is power because it allows you to realize certain things, or it allows companies to realize certain things. Or if you don't have it, then you're kind of stuck and you can't do things. But power is also in the sense of you're giving the information or the thoughts into something, and this is energy as well, and energy is also sort of power.
Absolutely, and it's your power. Speaking of spirituality and speaking of basically all those very interesting new ways how we look at the world, there is also another very universal principle, is that what you focus on multiplies, or what you give attention actually grows, and what you kind of neglect also doesn't develop further. So money is just another expression of our resources, our physical resources. When we get up, some of us exercise, some of us go and take a shower, some of us go as early as possible to work. Those are our physical resources, which we potentially manage in one way or the other. We also have our emotional resources, right? We are occupied with some kind of emotions. We may be happy, we may be sad, we may be thinking about whatever we have currently on our minds, but it's also within our control to change it. And it's exactly the same way with money. A change or a refocusing of how you think and perceive money would not happen overnight. It requires probably day-by-day exercise. It requires probably a day-by-day getting acquainted with this idea that actually you are in charge of your money, that you are the one who actually can manage where your sources go, even if we're speaking about 5 francs or 10 francs or 100 francs. Small amount as such, if we look at 5 francs, but multiplied and accumulated, it makes a difference.
As you say, also in my case, dealing with money or understanding money is really like a daily training. But maybe a suggestion how to start this training, it already helps if you have your income and you know maybe 1/3 you are spending in things you can't avoid, and like your insurance bills, etc. Then you might have another third which you're spending in housing, and then there is 1/3 left. And it's extremely important that you consider how to spend this 1/3 of your income. So you can invest it in yourself, in your skills, etc. You can invest it in companies, and we touched that it's important that you're investing in companies you really believe in, or you can hold it on the bank account, which is a very fair decision as well. But there it's really important to be aware that even if your cash is on the account, it's invested because you hold a certain currency and you hold the cash with a certain bank. And maybe in the end, we just need to get familiar with the idea that money flows. So money comes in and money goes. And there is no real space where money is safe.
And it's a very valid point. We tend to think, and particularly safety is something which is a very big, there are a lot of misbeliefs about the concept of safety and what is risky. And we've been speaking about that in completely different contexts when we started founding the company. But back to our topic, a lot of people actually don't want to deal with the topic investing because they're consciously, subconsciously very afraid of risk. And you mentioned a very valid point, there is no such thing as absolute safety. Not even a bank account in Swiss francs can be considered safe, absolutely safe. Not even a gold account can be considered absolutely safe. The only thing where you can find safety and stability is actually building up your own skills, training your own abilities, how to deal with uncertainty. Because as we say in finance, and actually not only in finance, there is one thing which is certain, and that's the fact that you're going to be exposed always to uncertainty.
That's such a nice closing. I don't know anything to add to this. So this is it from our third podcast, and we are very much looking forward to see you very soon again.
Thank you, and looking forward to see you soon.
Money!
What Your Bank Doesn't Tell You, a podcast by UMushroom.